Does randomness exist? What are your thoughts about like something like that kind of being pulled, like reality pulling that situation together and everybody kind of just hung out there without any plans? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I don't think randomness exists. I feel like it can exist when depending on the certain level of consciousness that we're existing at. So if we are like existing, let's say, at the consciousness of pride, where we're just kind of thinking about ourselves and nobody else really, and we kind of have this like high horse mentality, then maybe that sense of like, oh, that was really random and that didn't really make sense and that didn't really fit will kind of fit into that level of consciousness. However, I do think that everything happens for a reason. I think we're faced with certain moments and certain people for a reason. And if we like, I think if anyone takes that and like retrospects on their entire life and looks at like really, and maybe just looks at the really pivotal moments where we have big memories of, and we can kind of see that that was all kind of orchestrated rather organically. Like I met him very organically and randomly. And it's just like, I think that happens in all, especially like really big, important, pivotal moments of our life. But I think it happens on a day to day basis, down to like things that we probably won't want to think about as like, well, that was kind of meant to happen, or I somewhat created that, like down to like car accidents and injuries and anything of that sort. I think we're faced
Mm.
moments to, allow us to face ourselves.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but it was an interesting little day. I had an amazing time and it just kind of fostered the relationship and started growing a little bit more. And next thing you know, we're all hanging out in Italy. And then I get to meet you, Alyssa. And the first time that I met you, we were all like in this I guess this little area, this little room in Maurizio's Airbnb. And you were like, no, we don't shake hands, we give hugs. So
Yeah.
the second like I heard your voice and then you're like, oh, give me a hug, let's go, it like started the family like element that Vieste was. So let's start off by talking a little bit about our experience in Viesta, specifically with you guys, George and Alyssa. What were your thoughts about the entire thing? What was some of your experience like? What were the biggest takeaways that you took away from? Start with you, George, or Alyssa, take it away.
You gonna start with me? Okay.
Mhm.
All right. It was really hard for me, actually. Like I had a rough flight out there, and like I've never, I traveled to Spain when I was like in middle school, and I think I had a cold or some sinus something before we left on the plane. And so by the time we got on the plane, I couldn't hear, nor could I breathe. So like the whole like start, and then we had a 5 hour drive from when we landed. And so I fell asleep on George in the car because he had to drive. It was a stick shift.
Yeah.
It was like the transition out there was really rough for me. And like me
Mm,
being out of my comfort zone is like actually very comfortable for me when I'm like, I have my home and I have my environment that I'm used to. And I kind of like see when I'm pushed like way outside of that to where I have nothing, like, and even in a place where I don't even speak the language, nor could I figure
mm,
it around on my own. I'm like facing a lot of my control mechanisms and a lot of my like, well, this feels really nice to me and this feels good. And now I'm like, figuring all that